It's one thing to have faith, but it's another thing to actually move in that faith. Join me as I believe. Poet, mother, teacher. Why not believe together?
Hey. This is your girl, Shantri Smoot, and we're back with Growing a Closer Walk with God. A quick few announcements, you guys. First of all, um, I go by Shantri, that's my middle name, and it's just easy to go by that because it's all over my social media handles. My real name is Shawana. I feel like if we live in honesty, we live in peace, so I don't want anything to look a certain way or anything like that to be turned to something that it's not, because it's not, those are not the intentions. My second announcement is this is a lifestyle channel. So anything that I endeavor, anything that I do, anything new that I learn, I'm going to bring it. I'm going to try my best to bring it and share with you guys. Also, if you guys have not tuned in to Conversations of a Grown Woman, you should do so. It's a podcast. You can find it on any of the streaming platforms. Lastly, but not least, if you have not done so, please hit the like and subscribe button below. Now, this is what I'm super excited about. Our devotional today, we will be talking about Nehemiah. Okay. And before I even go into any backdrop of Nehemiah, we're going to read the scripture because it's not about me, it's about the scripture. So, with that being said, we're going to come out of Nehemiah 4, verse 11. We're going to read verse 11. We're going to read 14 and 15. Okay. All right. So, verse 11 reads, "And our adversary said, they will neither know nor see anything till we come into their midst and kill them and cause the work to cease." 14 reads, "And I looked and arose and said to the nobles, to the leaders, and to the rest of the people, do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord, great and awesome, and fight for your brethren, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your house." 15 reads, "And it happened, when our enemies heard that it was known to us and that God had brought their plot to nothing, that all of us returned to the wall, everyone to their work." Okay, backdrop about Nehemiah, right? So Nehemiah was what you call a cupbearer, right? Nehemiah would taste and drink anything that was served to the king to ensure that it wasn't poison, right? His goal was to ensure that the king wasn't being poisoned. Um, and so in doing this, Nehemiah found favor in the king's eyes, right? But God places burden on Nehemiah. And I know when we think about burden, we think about something bad, something heavy. And in a sense, this was heavy, but it wasn't anything bad. So a burden from God is an option, right? An option to carry out a call or an assignment to God or for God. And you have this option until the assignment is completed. So that's what we characterize as a burden. So God gave Nehemiah this burden to go and to help rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. Now, the wall in Jerusalem itself was in ruins after idol worship and and adultery. God allowed this to happen. He allowed it to be destroyed because of idol worship and adultery. However, he put an option on Nehemiah to go and rebuild the wall because the people that were left in Jerusalem, right? If you know anything about Jerusalem, the wall was set up as a form of protection from the adversaries. So here they are living in ruin, but they also have little to no protection from the adversaries, right? So God gave Nehemiah this option. And so Nehemiah went to the king and said, "Hey, I'm living like this, but I can't live like this in peace knowing that my people are in ruin. Can I go help build a wall?" And because of the favor that Nehemiah found in the king's eyes, the king told Nehemiah, "Sure, go ahead, do what you need to do. What is it that you need from me?" Basically, is what he said in so many words. And so Nehemiah went and started to rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. Now, while Nehemiah had the unction, right? The unction didn't give Nehemiah insight into the adversaries that would be there waiting on him. The unction didn't give Nehemiah insight into the torment, right, from his adversaries that will be waiting on him. And so when I look at Nehemiah, I look at his loyalty, not only to his loyalty to the call of God, but to his loyalty to the king. Nehemiah was so loyal to the king and to his job that he was willing to put his life on the line every day. And what I noticed about Nehemiah was he was a servant before he became a leader. And that really spoke to me because I had to ask myself, are you serving to the capacity in which you are willing to give away the you that you know for the you that God has called you to be? Are you serving to the capacity that even when God calls you to go and you don't want to go, are you willing to go? Are you serving to the capacity that even when the torment begins and the torment starts, that you are willing to fight? And see, Nehemiah, this stuck out to me because Nehemiah left his place of comfort. Nehemiah left his place of comfort and he walked out because of the unction and the call that God had placed on his life. He walked into torment. And in a sense, you can say he left peace for torment in order to answer the call of God. And when I think about Nehemiah, I think about him laying his life down, laying down what he knew for what God had called him to. And I had to ask myself, are you serving to that capacity? Are you living to that capacity? And we talk about character because nobody knew about the unction that God had gave Nehemiah. And the great and awesome thing about God is that he gives us free will, right? So Nehemiah didn't have to tell anybody. He could have stayed and worked for the king, right? But his character, his integrity said, hey, I'm going to go and answer the call. Not because God called me to. That's not the only reason. I'm going to go because he called me to, but I'm going to also go because my people are in distress. You can also see Nehemiah's character tested on the wall. He was being tormented on the wall. And instead of him clapping back to his adversaries, instead of him serving them, instead of him shading them, as we say, Nehemiah, he did not. He encouraged his people and he tended to his work, right? He carried out. He was so focused on the things that God had called him to. He was so dedicated to God and the things that God had called him to that he had no time to mind his adversaries. I felt that. I felt that because I've been in a situation. I've been in situations where God has called me to something, but because of my adversaries, I backed up. Because of my adversaries, I opted out. And I told myself that I was doing the right thing. But after reading Nehemiah, I realized the right thing was to and is to continue in the work of God, to carry out the unction that God has given you. He gave me that unction for a reason. He gave Nehemiah, he specifically handpicked Nehemiah for that call for a reason. He specifically picked you, he specifically picked me for a reason. And so I had to ask myself, are you more loyal to God or to comfort? Are you more loyal to God or to the way that you think your life should be? Or to the things that you think that you should be doing? Nehemiah, in his actions in rebuilding the wall and being faithful to God, spoke to me about my own life, spoke to me about what it means to be faithful. We can say that we're faithful. We can say that we're loving Christians and that we love God, but can we be faithful when it counts the most? Can we be faithful when it threatens our life? Can we be faithful when it threatens our peace? Can we be faithful when it threatens our stability? Can we be faithful? And faithful is not all on us. Faithful also means, can we trust God? Because the unction didn't tell us what was on the other side waiting for us. So when we get to the other side and see what was waiting on us, can we be faithful enough to trust God despite what's waiting on us? Despite what's tormenting us? Despite the hackling? Can we be faithful enough to trust God? Despite all of that. Nehemiah had me check myself into which magnitude I was serving. Nehemiah had me ask myself, am I serving to the capacity in which God has called me to? Or I'm serving according to my comfort level? Nehemiah had me to ask myself, who am I more loyal to? Myself or God? My preference, or God? My comfort or God? And I had to check myself in that. Because with Nehemiah, the only thing that mattered was the unction, the burden that God had given him. The only thing that mattered was him serving God and answering the call that God had given him. Look, so we have a choice today. We have the opportunity to reflect today and ask ourselves right now, are we serving to the magnitude in which God has called us to? Or are we serving according to our comfort zone? Are we more loyal to God? Or are we more loyal to ourselves and our preference? Because we have a preference, but God has a call. And I challenge you guys today to ask yourself, are you answering that call? Are you faithful to that call? So if you have not already done so, please like and subscribe. If you are growing with me as I grow, and you think that this is great content, and you think that we're doing something great together, please, please, please share it with someone you know. Please. Because I guarantee you there's somebody else out there that needs Nehemiah right now, at this moment in their life. I guarantee you there's somebody out there that is caught in between the call and their preference, the call and their comfort, the call and the hackling, the call and the torment. I guarantee you. So feel free to like, subscribe, and share. Remember, love with your whole heart, because I love you.